yeah, I'm 60, but I just don't feel old. And, when I was walking, the last time I was walking down at the Grand Canyon, I was passing up people who were younger than me, who were sore, not speedy, maybe just starting their journeys or not being aware that they haven't been getting the right amount of protein or the right amount of nutrients for their bodies so that it can be in a repair. Couple was coming downhill and they were saying, "Oh, what are you guys training for?" And I'm just like, "I'm training for life." What body do you want to have when you're 70? What body do you want to have when you're 80?
Welcome to my podcast, Over 40 and Fabulous, the show that helps you live your best life, no matter your age. I'm Robin Thomas, lifestyle and wellness expert and a community leader in holistic health. I'm the founder of Living Well Connections, a healthy living community that supports, educates, and empowers us all to make healthy decisions toward a more balanced and fulfilling life. Most of us feel like victims of our own metabolism after 50, but we often don't realize how much power we actually have to shift our internal chemistry from storage to strength. Joining me today to explain exactly how to make that shift is someone who has lived this transformation herself. Lori Balue helps women over 50 rebuild metabolism for sustainable weight loss, better energy, and pain-free movement. A 100-pound weight loss success story and Grand Canyon hiker, she guides women to age adventurously through metabolic recovery, not willpower.
Hi, Lori. I'm really so happy for us to be able to do this podcast together. I've been looking at your materials, your programs, your ideas, and we've had some conversation that just makes me know we're really right on the same page on a lot of things. So I'd love to, first of all, start off with, can you tell us a little bit about your personal story? Because it's so meaningful. It's so inspiring.
Thank you. Hi, Robin. And thank you for having me on. I was listening to a couple of your podcasts and it's just like, wow, like this is so cool. I should just binge listen because it was so much good information. So grateful to be here to get my story out. But I was overweight as a child. I had a major depression and my mom had put me on the Atkins diet, low carb diet at the time, which really helped me reset my metabolism. And it showed me that food is medicine for the body. Now, as a child, that didn't stick because I didn't know what was happening. I had to go and live all the diets and, but it did reset my metabolism. It did turn off the depression. And I was able to actually get through high school at only 150 pounds versus 200 pounds. But then in my mid-30s, I actually got up to 225 pounds. And at that point, I'd had allergies, asthma, sinusitis, bronchitis, more depression popped in, anxiety, and the beginnings of arthritis. So that was what I lived with for the next 20 years, give or take a little bit, maybe, sometime before that and some after. And I could not get off that merry-go-round of just being sick, losing weight, gaining it all back, just feeling really lost and unlovable. I just didn't feel good in my body. I was a loner. I didn't feel comfortable. The depression was always there. So as long as I had the weight high, I didn't feel good in my body. So I know there was a brain-gut connection there. Looking back, I had PCOS. I was, my periods were always irregular. And I love to be able to speak about that because in my mid-30s, I wish I had had this information about why I had PCOS and what the heck was happening in my body. I did not know. I had to live like that for the next 15, 20 years.
Right.
Until I hit menopause. And at that point, I was just like, well, I had more time for myself. I was doing some research. I was reading all of the paleo and ancestral health cookbooks and really started to understand that there was a solution. I just had to get into it. So I did the HCG diet I did that, lost the weight, gained it all back. It was just so frustrating. So by the time I found low carb nutrition, I was ready. I was looking for my solution. I wanted to feel different in my body. I basically didn't want to have asthma. I'm like, I can't, my doctor for asthma said he had told me I'd always be on an inhaler. And I'm like, no, I'm going to beat this. I'm dealing with that. So
absolutely. You can't, it's when you have asthma, you've always got that hanging over your head that you've got to carry your inhaler with you, and you've got to
Oh
just
my
watch
gosh.
out for everything, and the weather, if the weather
Yeah.
gets too hot, or if it's
I went
just
camping one spring, didn't think about it, but I had to bring my breathing machine. Fortunately, there was electricity. I had to plug that thing in the middle of the night. It was such a horrendous noise. I was so embarrassed that I had to use a breathing machine on a camping trip. But yeah, I mean, that was something I was grateful to ditch, because once I did a keto low carb diet, which is what I needed to reset my metabolism at that time, because I was insulin sensitive, my eyes were wonky, my hair was thinning, I had prediabetes and the asthma. And 1 month on that and 20-pound weight loss, I was already feeling amazing, to the point where, gosh, this is amazing. I felt better than I'd ever felt my entire life. I actually felt joy. I had hope for the first time, and I knew I was on to something. So that was basically the story of how I got started. I just
well,
built
that's a
from there.
wonderful story. Yes.
Yeah.
And you didn't just stop there. I mean, you just like, oh, okay, I feel good. So now I'm just gonna, you decided to give back. You decided to learn more, because I know the testing is so very important.
Mhm.
You know, but you're not born knowing about that. And we're not. So you did some, have you had some certifications, or if you,
Yeah,
I
so
know
I
you've
got
learned a lot.
real excited about learning about more. I was hanging out with Chris Kresser and learning about his program. He had his first Adapt Health coaching program startup, and I'm like, yes, I need to be in this. Oh my gosh, what a year worth of growth that was. But I just really dived straight into that. It took a year to finish it. I did it even when I was in Tahoe. I mean, that was what I was going to focus on. And then after I got done with that, I started hearing about functional diagnostic nutrition. And I dive straight into that, because again, the labs, I'm like, I can help so many more people. This can help me. I can get excited and figure out more things to help people, not just talk with you. And because we don't know what we don't know. And I
Right.
wanted to be able to find hidden healing experiences and help put the body back together again, because I wish I'd known that when I was 35, I wouldn't have lost my 30s and 40s to obesity, asthma, depression, and not living life that I wanted to have. Well, I'm finally
Right.
living life in my 60s, but I
Yay.
didn't have that in my
Yeah.
40s. I feel better now. I'm stronger, happier, more joyful, slenderer than I was in my 40s. It's all worth it to cross those food bridges, like you were saying about my recipe book. Cross the food bridges, just give it a chance, step by step. What can we do to support our metabolism, to support the endocrine system, so over 40 we can thrive? We don't have to decline just because we're in our 40s or 50s
Oh
or
yeah,
60s.
absolutely.
I've got clients
Absolutely.
in their 70s who do not want to live retirement completely immobile, sick, and not being able to have the energy to do the projects and live life that they want to live in their 70s. So this is, this is
Exactly.
about rebuilding the second half of our life to live fulfilled with
Yeah,
what
that's
time we have left. Yeah.
and that's sort of the point of Over 40 and Fabulous too.
Right? We should be
Because
fat. We should be
we
feeling
can be
fabulous.
fabulous.
Mhm.
And over 40, over 50, over 60, I mean, it's over 70. We can be fabulous a long time.
Yeah, yeah. I'm finding it super excited to be able to help people in their 60s and their 70s really get their life goals and reach their vision that they want to have. But it starts in our 40s and 50s to really understand what it is that we're doing to get out of living the sad American diet, which is damaging everybody's metabolism.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You're
Mhm.
exactly right. Tell me, how do you work with people on developing their metabolic health? Because it's
So,
so important. But and it actually, if you might want to do just a very little brief um, description on what metabolic health is, because I think people hear that coined around, but they don't quite understand it.
right. So looking at your whole body and looking at the function of the body, we basically have a metabolism that has our adrenals, our thyroid, our insulin levels, the cortisol levels, all of our hormones and endocrine system. And so it's kind of wrapped up into the term metabolism. And so to get your metabolism functioning, we need to address many different areas. That there could be blocks. There could be something stuck. You could be nutrition deficient. There could be the lack of selenium and zinc. We don't even know. That's why I love running the labs. And when we run the labs, we can find those hidden healing opportunities, the weight loss blocks, the things that are slowing you down, giving you fatigue and dropping your energy. So when you run like a food sensitivity test, like what kept me sick and stuck was I was red sensitive to wheat and dairy, and I was eating that. I see it in my nieces, they don't understand either because they're still young and, that's not clicking. But if we eat the foods we're sensitive to, causing metabolic dysfunction in our digestive tract and in our gut, it affects our hormone balance, our cortisol levels, and our energy, our brain.
And you don't have to be older. You don't have to be in the second part of your life to be feeling this, because yes, I see young people who do not quite understand, and we first of all we have to bring the information to the surface, and then second of all just encourage people to it's worth a try.
Right. Because I mean, if this knowledge was available, and maybe it was, but I didn't hear it, I did not know back in 25 years ago when it was the Susan Powter fat-free era, everybody was jumping into eating fat-free. It's okay to have the sugar, but I would eat a whole pack of cookies. That couldn't possibly be good for my body. I wasn't getting any fat, so then I wasn't absorbing any nutrients. And what was interesting is I did lose weight off and on. I never lost the asthma. I never lost the depression. I didn't feel good in my body. The allergies were still there until I went low carb and actually gave my body the nutrients it needed. And so what I want to tell with people who are in their mid 30s or even in their 40s and you're still struggling, it is whether or not our adrenals are getting balanced and whether or not our thyroid is functioning, but are we getting the right fat for our body and our brain? Are we getting the right fat to absorb fat soluble vitamins? Are we getting nutrients to build muscle? Because if we don't build muscle, by the time you get to your 60s and 70s, you're going to just break down and not have the mobility that you want to have. And that's why, it's not inevitable to lose your knees and your hips. It's not just wear and tear on the body. What it is a breakdown of your ligaments and your muscles and everything else because the nutrition has been poor when we were in our 30s and 40s.
It's a very slow, long breakdown. So people don't click and think of it.
Right.
They don't put it together.
Mm-hmm.
But, my son's 35. So we've been eating very similar ways for at least 30 years. When he was really little, they tried anyway. They tried other things, but we have been eating that way just because our child was eating that way, we ate that way too. So we came in sort of in the back door. It's like, oh yes. But I definitely see the difference now. I look around and I see it because I'm in my late 60s. And as my older son says, when we went hiking together the last time, he was looking at his dad and me, and he's like, "You guys don't act like old people."
You can feel really young. When I'm actually on calls talking to people and they tell me they're 60 or 70, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm 60, but I just don't feel old." And when I was walking, the last time I was walking down at the Grand Canyon, I was passing up people who were younger than me, who were sore, not speedy, maybe just starting their journeys or not being aware that they haven't been getting the right amount of protein or the right amount of nutrients for their bodies so that it can be in a repair process while you're getting the exercise and movement you want to have. Because movement is so important, but if we don't get the movement with low insulin lifestyle, and that's something that carb code can be something you create. It may need to be less initially to reverse the prediabetes or whatever issue you have. And then you can rebuild it. Like your son can add in a little bit of fruit, but maybe he couldn't do that in the beginning. We can all redesign what we need to do for our bodies and our brains. But what is our vision and our goal? And how can we use movement and low carb insulin to reach the point where we're aging adventurously, pain-free, because I don't have any pain in my body. If we could be aging pain-free and stay active, to be able to hike where we want to go, get out and have an adventure, take a vacation and go do what we want to do, that's what living's not about. Not stuck in a chair, you can't even do your chores, or you're stuck in a nursing home. We don't want to fall apart. We don't want to have disease, but we can work to, what's the word I'm looking for? Work towards reducing our risk of these lifestyle diseases because they're
Mhm.
lifestyle diseases. So we got to look at the lifestyle. What are you doing with your life?
I like the
can
word
you recreate?
revitalize.
Revitalize is excellent. Or, that other term is just recreate. And that's what I've been doing. I mean, I didn't want to live with asthma. I did want weight loss, but I also just wanted to feel good in my body. And so I didn't have all the weight loss right away. I only dropped 20 pounds initially.
At first, yeah, but you started feeling better right away, pretty soon.
And I was able to then get
That
more
encouraged me to
motivated.
move on. I believe in that. I believe if we could find, when I work with someone, it's, I find out, first of all, what do they want to work on first? Because if they don't want to work on it, they're not going to do whatever my suggestions are. But also their why. And you come down to it. I mean, people have different whys, but not necessarily. At least at our age, we're not saying we want to lose weight to look good in a bikini. I mean, maybe somebody younger would say that, but I think with the knowledge of some age, we understand that what we want to do is feel good, be able to do the things that are fun that we want to do, be able to experience life and not end up like sitting on the sofa.
Right.
Day.
I mean, I had a client that was 69 working with me, was her birthday present basically. And she was like, I'm not going to enter my 70s and retirement sick. And I don't think she mentioned it initially, but she wasn't able to really move much and do chores around the house. But when we finished working together, that was a big smile on her face. She goes, I am moving more. I have less pain and I can do chores again. I mean, that might seem simple, but if you get stuck there, you gotta think about not getting to the point where you're feeling stuck like that.
Now, one of the things I really like is that you really emphasize movement also. And there's a movement with the, keeping your insulin load down, increasing your insulin sensitivity is what I say, have it so you're not, your body gets resistant, your body's cells get resistant to insulin and it gets harder and harder. And then you're hungrier and hungrier. And it, it is this whole roller coaster. Your body starts going into that insulin roller coaster of being very hungry, and then but this recovery for walking and hiking, that may be some people's why, but it also really needed for us to find ways to move our bodies that we enjoy, that we're not. It's not a chore.
Right.
And when we're not feeling well and you're holding on to a lot of extra weight, it becomes a chore. But what kind of steps do you do with people who are not right there yet, where they're, really happy about being active? They know they should be, but, to make it fun. What kind of things do you suggest to people to make it fun?
Well, what I really like is getting out and going to a garden and really enjoying flowers and getting out in nature and letting nature relax your nervous system so that you feel more motivated. Those are some of the things that have really gotten me out in life. When my kids were younger, I took them to the botanical gardens. We went to the zoo. We walked around. I used to buy passes to get out in nature. So that would relax my nervous system. So I walked a lot, and I'm sure it helped my insulin levels to help me be more motivated, but it wasn't until I completely was more insulin sensitive. So it took me a few years. So it can take longer if you don't pull in low carb nutrition. So by the time I did movement with low carb nutrition, that was the magic for me to actually start losing more weight. I became more insulin resistant. I was able to then take away the foods that were causing insulin rises in my body. So it was, you take away the foods that are causing the insulin to rise, your body becomes more insulin resistant with the movement, and then nature kind of helps your nervous system relax, and you could lose weight more readily. At one point, I was doing all of that, getting to the nature, midday sunlight, movement. It dropped 20 pounds without even trying. That was so powerful. And I just was like, wow, I didn't even do anything different. When we actually dial in gut health too, that can make a big difference. And so that's why I do like to run the labs, because I've created a program where I run 6 different diagnostic labs to find the hidden healing opportunities, but bringing in circadian balance, grounding, the right exercise for your body, which is like, what do you want to do right now? What's going to make you feel comfortable? That's going to help you get to the next level. I let people kind of design what they want to do, because I think they're not going to do it if they don't want to do it. And so what can you do, and what action plan can you do every week to do that, and only do it maybe twice a week so you can feel successful. Then you build on top of those actions. I mean, I love doing squats, and what I'll do is, if I'm doing something, I will incorporate a squat into that process. If you're in the kitchen, what can you do to get more movement? How can you just do some counter push-ups, do some squats while you're waiting around in the kitchen for something to happen? Don't just stand there. Let your body move. The more we fidget and get that movement, the more we're going to activate that metabolism and get the insulin to relax more. And then you feel better in your body. It's all combined.
Yeah. Take those moments that you'd be bored standing there or looking for a chair to sit in.
Right.
For me, I like to practice balance because I know how important it is. So I brush my teeth while balancing on one foot.
Oh, that's really cool. I've seen people balancing while in the bathroom too. I've got a vibration plate, and I can't just stand on that. I'll do squats on my vibration plate, or I'll pick up a weight and do that, or I'll do a little dancing and do extra movement, because if you're on a vibration plate, that's a really good way to just kind of wake up your muscles. And you could just kind of fidget and dance a little bit, because you're activating more muscles. When we activate more muscles, we get more insulin sensitivity. And those are the things that we really want to focus on. So it's not just diet alone. Diet can go pretty far, but if we pull in the movement with the diet, and not necessarily diet, low insulin living, creating a lifestyle, get off the diets. I didn't lose my 100 pounds until I got off the diet. Got off the roller coaster ride and started looking at following those food bridges towards low carb living, so that I could feel good in my body and build it up with muscle and health, and absorb the nutrients that I was missing from a lifestyle of dieting.
Yeah, that's so true. Diets often eliminate important vitamins and minerals in your diet just because you're eliminating.
And if you tell yourself diet, you're looking at, I'm just going to lose 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds, and then I'm going to have the thing. And then, you get sabotaged, and you go back to eating the foods you ate before. It was not a lifestyle change, which is what we want to focus on. Because if we focus on it as a lifestyle change, the weight loss that you get is cumulative, and then it becomes permanent. But so does your health. You have reduced your risk for disease and can live a better, higher quality of life. That's aging adventurously.
That's so true. And it's not starving yourself. People go in this starvation diets, and then your body reacts to that. It doesn't like that.
And you can't sustain it because you don't feel good in your body. You don't have the energy. You have more fatigue. You're feeling uncomfortable. You're unhappy. I ate like some ground beef with 3 eggs this morning. I made, I didn't measure the meat, but I felt good eating it. And it was just wonderful. Yeah.
All right. So I'm looking at your third point, which is great, because we've been talking about this lifestyle, and it reduces inflammation too. That's why you felt better. That is
yes. Because I've had that roll of fat around my middle and under my breast for years. I couldn't really ditch it. And it was that inflammation, the visceral fat. And once I really stuck with the program and discovered everything that was going on with my body, corrected digestion, corrected my hormones, really removed the food sensitivities, I was able to get rid of that extra body weight around the middle. And I mean, I'm not bikini ready. I still weigh 130 pounds. But I feel comfortable in my body and slender for the first time. So I feel grateful for where I am, because I could wake up in the morning and not have to worry about what I'm going to wear and whether or not that weight's going to come back on. Because I've reduced the inflammation, which has reduced the pain in my body. And that's what I look at with this metabolic recovery. A lot of clients that come to me don't come to me. They come to me because they want weight loss, but they also don't feel good in their body. They've got some kind of pain. There's some kind of dysfunction. Things are happening. And when they start working with me, they're like, I don't care if I lose the weight. I just want to feel better in my body. It comes down to turning off.
Better. We want
Turn
to feel
off the
better.
inflammation.
And reducing inflammation is key to that, because
Right.
Inflammation causes for different people, unique side effects. Inflammation causes,
Mhm.
you know. So for you were getting asthma, and I'm positive that was caused by inflammation.
Right. And I had degenerating knees initially, 10 years ago when I first walked down to Phantom Ranch on the Bright Angel Trail at the Grand Canyon, excruciating knee pain. And it was right after that I changed my diet and lifestyle and started building my body up, building my capacity, getting stronger. And now 10 years later, I can take that hike and I am faster, stronger, passing up younger people. I had a pain-free hike the last time I went. Because I don't have a lot of inflammation in my body, because I eat the food that works for my metabolism and helps me build muscles, because it's more protein
because those
forward.
muscles are supporting the knees too. Some of it is, that muscle loss causes it. And this is what you call aging adventurously.
Yeah, because we get to choose how we want to age. And it is a choice. It's a choice for self-care, for choosing health at home, and looking at what is your opportunities. How can you design the lifestyle you want to live? And what do you want to do with your life? It's not like if I can get rid of this pain or when I'm going to have a knee surgery. It's like, why don't we reverse your risk for these situations by bringing in that nutrition and choosing health at home by what we eat? Because food is information to our body. All we got to do is reprogram our body, and you can get a body that works without pain, with less inflammation, as best as your body can get back to healing, so it is functional again. And
functional is all the pieces together.
Yes, all the pieces together.
You exercise like mad to build muscle. You need to have the ingredients, eating the ingredients that help build the muscle.
It could just be diet. If you can't move and you don't have that motivation and you're feeling super stuck, let's get your brain back on track. Let's get the diet working for you. Let's get you excited about living again, looking forward to something. And then your will want to move. And then you start building that up, because that's how I did it. I was like, but then I would walk. And I didn't actually lose a lot of weight, but unless I was dieting. So you do have to look at the low carb nutrition. If your body is in that position that I am, I'm an obesity survivor. I have diabetes and cancer running in my family genes. But so we are obesogenic. So for me, low carb nutrition was critical to get to the point where I was building my carb code to see what it is that I can do to live my life. But the food sensitivities caused the asthma, the allergies, and the depression was created because of the inflammation from the food sensitivities that caused the dysbiosis and leaky gut. And so it's all connected. And that's what I look at. That's why I like to run anywhere from 3 to 6 labs. Find out what your mineral balance is, look at your food sensitivities, turn off the pain of inflammation, correct your appetite so that your body functions naturally, and let the GLP-1 activate naturally in your body to turn off the hunger and the cravings. And then that's when you start looking at life as an adventure, because we can age healthier, or we can be stuck and sick, but nobody wants to be there if they have the right information and the right tools to change that. Everybody I know is like, yeah, like this is amazing. And can we really do that? I mean, I'm living proof that I did that. I lost 100 pounds.
You're right here in front of me.
I can walk 25 miles across the Grand Canyon rim to rim, because I get excited about doing that.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
It's not just the Grand Canyon. You can go walk at any national park, any state park, go to the beach and have mobility. Just feel good in your body.
Be able to walk the beach. A couple of not last fall, but the fall before that, we went up to the New England mountains, the White Mountains and all, and just climbed the mountains and felt good about it. got
Yeah.
to the top and I'm feeling good. And there's, like you said, there were some young people who were, you know, puffing and puffing and having trouble getting up. And I'm like,
Yeah, I remember one time there was 3 of us in this meetup group, and we were climbing this ridge line over in Corona here in California, and some younger couple was coming downhill, and they were saying, "Oh, what are you guys training for?" And I'm just like, "I'm training for life." They didn't go all the way up, but we did. And I was in my 60s, so it's like, yeah, well, this is training for life. Like, what body do you want to have when you're 70? What body do you want to have when you're 80?
I
That's
know
what we
it.
want to think about in our 40s.
Exactly. We do have to think about it early.
Yeah.
Well, this has been delightful. And I know people are going to want to reach out to you. What is your favorite way for someone to reach you? Is it through your website or through a social media platform? What is your
Yeah.
favorite way?
So I am at loribalue.com. That's Balue is BALUE. So it's like value with the B. And there you can download my recipe book. You can take a look at the other podcast I've been on, as well as my testimonies that I have. But I do have a recipe book for aging beautifully and adventurously, and it's the low carb bridges. I mean, these are some of my favorite recipes that I used to help me get off the standard American diets, and I go back and forth to them all the time. Like, I always make a carrot cake for my birthday. I just make it low carb. There's so many things we can do. And what I like to tell people is just make it low carb. If you want to eat it, if you want that flavor, just make it low carb, because the benefits of changing your metabolism to a fat burner and burning your body fat and the visceral fat, the inflammatory visceral fats in your organs, is so worth it. Because otherwise you just feel stuck and think that you have no willpower. It's not about the willpower. It's about finding the motivation through changing our lifestyle to more low carb or low insulin levels, and you build it. You could do it slowly, you could do it fast, you do it the way you want to do it. But I got a keto cookie recipe that's amazing, and there is nothing that I can't eat that I want to eat. I just make it low carb. But that's what I like to teach. I mean, I eat more keto carnivore, but that's because I've been doing this for 10 years. But I can go back and forth and make a low carb biscuit and really enjoy it with some almond butter. And I sometimes binge on that just because I want to. But it's all about finding the capacity and building that capacity, finding how to age adventurously and what it is that you want to do. And I'm so excited. I just launched a group program that's a 6-month group program for aging adventurously. And it's not just a weight loss program. It's about building capacity, fixing that metabolism, turning off the inflammation, stopping the pain, and building the body that you want to have. And it's not necessarily about losing 50 pounds. It's about what is going to make your body comfortable now, so that you can get out and get movement and become the body that you want to have and feel slender and controlled, so you can feel capable in your body and trust it again. That's what I love about this.
That's wonderful. And I will definitely, you'll send me that link.
Will do.
Link for that. And I'll put it in the show notes. And again, thank you so much. I've loved this. This is great.
Thank you, Robin. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much for joining me at my Over 40 and Fabulous podcast. If this podcast has been helpful for you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with those in your life who need to hear this empowering message. And don't forget to download my free gift, 5 Ways to Get Started with Healthy Habits Without Getting Overwhelmed. This free guide leads you through 5 small steps that will allow you to ease into healthy habits until they become a natural part of your life. It's wonderful if you're just not quite sure how to get started. To get this helpful guide, go to robinthomas.biz/community support, and I will put it in the show notes too. Drop in your email and it will arrive straight to your inbox. Bye for now, and I'll see you next episode.